never, ever once told me, oh, oh, that was good. He would never, ever compliment anything. He was so strict. But every once in a while, when I did something good, when I did something really good, he would just kind of look at me and just kind of crack a little smile. And you know what? That little smile was like the greatest feeling in the world. It was like I just got approval from Grandpa. I'm Jake Shimabukuro, and I share hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
All right, well, today I get a chance to do something that's thrilling me, and that is welcome Jake to our show. Jake is amazing on the ukulele, and you may not know anything about the ukulele or haven't seen one in a while, but these things are taking over the world. I got introduced to the ukulele back a few months ago, and my 12-year-old daughter bought one, and it has made an interesting change in my life that I'll mention in a minute. But first of all, Jake is one of those guys who is so good at the ukulele. He's getting recognized by everybody. He's been on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Kimmel. He's been on the Carson Daly Show, Today Show, NPR, Musicians at Google, multiple TED conferences, and it goes on and on. You really should look up this guy on Wikipedia or hit his website. If you just type in Jake S., you will find his name and his last name. And Jake, will you pronounce your last name so I can get it right?
Sure, Chris. I'm Jake Shimabukuro. It's my full name. And I was born and raised in Hawaii. Started playing the ukulele when I was 4 years old. And it's been my passion ever since.
I can tell. So Jake also has a film documentary. I saw it on Netflix. You can buy it on his website as well. And it's Life on Four Strings. And that's what really got me interested in Jake. So a few months ago, when my daughter got her first ukulele, it sat around for a while, and then I started picking it up, and she started looking at it. And I just Googled one day how to play the ukulele. And because of my past, a lot of depression and hard times that I go through occasionally, I know many folks do, there's sometimes we get in spots where we don't have a song in our heart. There's nothing, we don't hum a tune while we're washing the dishes, we're not singing in the shower, we're not tapping on the dashboard driving around town. And that's been me for a couple of decades. And literally a couple months ago, I picked up the ukulele, learned how to play Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, and then Googled again ukulele songs, and up pops a video of this guy, Jake. And it was a TED conference video. And I have been humming tunes for the past couple months. And Jake, that's truly a first in decades for me. So first, thanks for helping the uke become more popular. And then also thanks for letting Allie and I see you in concert recently and signing some stuff for us. Tell us a bit more about you, and then we will get into questions about hope, because I know you've got some interesting stuff to say there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not much more to me. I mean, I just, I have a family, and, my family's back home in Hawaii, and I just, aside from music, music is my main passion, but aside from music, I love fishing. Fishing is something that I enjoy. I love all water sports, just being in the ocean. And growing up in Hawaii, you have to love the ocean.
Yeah.
So spending time at the beach and things like that.
That's great.
And,
that's fantastic. Yeah. I'm sure traveling as much as you do takes up a lot of your time just riding in a bus on airplanes. All right. Well, Jake, how this works is we ask you 5 questions about hope. I know you've prepared some answers for those already, and I'll jump right in. Question 1, how do you define hope, or what is your favorite hope quote?
I don't really have a favorite hope quote, but to me, hope is so important because it's what keeps us motivated and keeps us moving forward. But I think that there's there's always, my mom would always tell me when I was a kid, that don't ever complain, because there are always people out there suffering, 100 times more than you. And, and I remember her always saying that to me as a kid, like if I were upset about something, or, she would always tell me, just be thankful, just be grateful for all the things you have, and it's easy for me to say, or for me to think that, because, like I had two healthy parents. I had a healthy younger brother. At the time, we had a place to live. We had food on the table. But it was always like, for me, it was always just, no matter what I was going through, I could always just kind of lean, toward the sun in a way, and always kind of look to the more positive side, But I think for me, a lot of it became, I started with this exercise, as a child, to never like hope was something that I never that I never, I guess, took on my, would never put on myself, but more on people around me, when you see people suffering, or you see people go through things, to me, to always kind of have hope for them, or to hope this and that for them, in a way, I don't know, it just made me made me, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, but in a way, just kind of made me appreciate,
Sure.
what I had.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like my parents, like growing up, we didn't have a lot of money or anything like that. Like most families, we got by, and my parents, they got divorced when I was the 5th grade, and my younger brother is 5 years younger than me. So I was raised by a single parent, by my mom.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, I just always remember, just, hoping that one day, my mom won't have to work so hard to raise me and my brother, and to feed me and my brother, and just always, hoping for a better life, for her, or, all those kinds of things, just,
yeah.
And somehow in doing that, it actually changed my outlook and perspective on things, and it was, I guess it was the same thing with prayer, and in a lot of ways, hope and prayer can kind of, be interchangeable, right? And and I would always kind of like, for example, if I wanted happiness, or if I wanted to pray for something for myself, like my exercise would be to pray for that for everyone else, and that was kind of like my thing, like whenever I would pray, I would never pray for like, I hope someday, I find the right partner, or
Sure.
or I find a soulmate, or I find success in this or that, but instead I would just, my hope or my prayer would turn into, I hope that everybody in this world finds happiness, or I hope that everyone in this world finds success. Every time I get on an airplane, till this very day, every I get on this airplane, I get on an airplane, the first thing I do is close my eyes, and I just either pray or hope that, and I don't say like, oh, please, I hope that I get to my destination safely, but I always say like, I pray that every single person on this planet gets to their destination safely.
Yeah. Well, that's really great. On a funny note, well, next time you're on an airplane, I want to make sure I'm on an airplane at the same time. That way you'll be praying for me. But also, that's a common theme that in these interviews we keep hearing is the people who have the most hope are often the ones who are thinking about other folks first. And in a way, sharing hope, that's the name I Share Hope is picked. Hope is one of those things that grows faster and stronger the more you share it. I think there's something to that. So, question 2, Jake. Tell us about someone who's been the most hopeful, or who's given you the most hope in life to date. That could be a mom, your wife, a friend, whoever it may be.
Yeah, definitely my mom. My mom was she's an amazing person, and such a strong person, and
wow.
And I just, for me, everything I do, it's always because you want to make your parents proud, your family proud, and you always want to make sure that everything that they've done, everything that they had to go through, to raise me and my brother, and to put a roof over our head and to put food on the table, everything that they had to do, all the sacrifices that they had to make. Mm-hmm. I always want to make sure that when they look at me today, they feel that all of that was worth it. Like it was worth it. Wow. What they had to struggle through and everything. I mean, my mom had a really tough life. I mean, a really difficult childhood, and so did my grandmother.
Wow.
And I won't get into that, but when I think about the things that they had to go through, especially being Japanese Americans, coming into our country, coming into this country, the sacrifices and the struggles that they had to go through, especially with the war and the bombing of Pearl Harbor and all that. My family being from Japan, coming over at that time, was a very difficult, it was a very difficult life for them. Wow. And that's why for me, I always want to make sure that I try to make, the best choices that I can, and, just try to do everything that I can to, so that when, my grandmother's still alive and healthy today, but I want to make sure that when she sees me today, like all the struggles that she had to go through, it was worth it. Mm-hmm. It was worth it for her, to see, just from her to my mom, and then my mom to me and my brother and all that, and now I have a child, so mm-hmm. my grandmother's now a great grandmother.
Oh wow!
I mean, a great grandmother.
Right. Wow.
So it's like, it's just that whole that lineage, that line of, and you always, and that, I think that's another thing too, where hope comes into play, is you make these sacrifices because you hope that your children will have a better life than what you had to experience, So I know my grandmother, it was actually my great grandmother that came over to Hawaii, that moved over from Japan, from Fukushima, and oh man, she had a tough life.
I bet.
The toughest life of all. And then for her, with my grandmother, it was tough. My grandmother had a very tough life too, because she was the Nisei, right? And then my mom, had to struggle. But I think it's all of that. It's my great grandmother came over because she had hoped for a better life for her children, and then my grandmother, worked hard, and I mean, she worked in the bars, and had to do whatever she could. she didn't have much of an education, and she had to do whatever she had to do to survive and
Sure.
to raise my mom, to give my mom, a place to live and, food on the table. And same thing with my mom. My mom, she had a little better life, but, still had to struggle to raise me and my brother. And now like I'm in that position where, I'm the parent now, and you know what, I want to do whatever I can, and more so that my son will have, the best life possible. I want to provide whatever I can for him, to give him all the opportunities in the world, opportunities that maybe I never had, and opportunities that my mom never had, for sure, or my grandmother, wasn't even thinking of.
Yeah. Well, I really think you're doing that, not just because of obviously the international fame you've been able to reach, which is fantastic and will obviously give a lot of opportunities to your kids. But I think looking at Wikipedia, we're within a year of each other on age. We both have kids, and man, it's just great to hear another dad who's got his head on straight is able to look back and say there's some people who've really paved the way before me, and I want to do that for the next generation. I think our kids and the kids that are our age kids need that more and more. So I'm thrilled that you're doing that, and I'm sure the community you live in is blessed because you're getting to hang around and be an example. So thanks.
Oh, no, thank you.
Hey, tell me a time, question number 3, when hope was all you had. Something going on in your personal life when you had to just pull through. You sound like you're a pretty naturally hopeful guy, but was there a time when it was just tough and you just you really had to hold on for dear life on some things?
Well, I've never had a near-death experience.
No, it doesn't have to be near. Doesn't have to be near death. It's okay. It could be just anything. It's been hard. You mentioned your parents getting divorced when you were young. That's a lot of people's story today.
Yeah, that was it was difficult, but for some reason, I don't know. I remember back then just being okay with it and realizing that, well, if my parents aren't happy together, then that's fine, as long as I just wanted them to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, it was a little difficult in the beginning, but we got through it. And when I look at my dad today and my mom today, I'm glad that they didn't stay together, because, my dad remarried, but now he's, but then my stepmom had passed away a few years ago, but my dad's in a great place, and my mom's in a great place, and it's great. So I'm glad. I don't have any regrets, and but I think probably the most difficult thing that I've ever gone through was losing my grandfather.
Oh wow!
So it's the one and only time that so far that I've lost someone that I was, was so close, that I was so close to. And my grandfather and I, we were very, very close. That's my grandfather on my mom's side.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm sorry.
And he was a huge influence, a great role model. He was a tough guy, though. He was he rarely smiled. He would never, ever compliment you on anything. He was like one of those that just, every time he opened his mouth, he was yelling. He was yelling something. But I learned so much from him, and but I remember when I was a kid, like, I was so scared, and I just hated my grandpa because, all he would do is yell at me and say blah, 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 but he believed in hard work. He believed in, like, if I was, like, Saturday morning, if I were just, like, watching cartoons, he would come on and he would be like, hey, what are you doing watching TV? Like, you're so lazy. That's the problem with you guys. You guys are so lazy. You guys don't know what hard work is. He would, like, just chase us out of the house and put us out in the yard and make us do yard work. And and it was great. I remember, I'll never forget, like, if I would leave, like, my clothes on the floor, like my dirty clothes on the floor, my grandpa was he was really strong. He would take my pants or my shirts and he would tie them. He would tie the legs into like a knot, and he would just pull it so tight that I would have to, I would literally, like, one of my shirts, I had to throw it away because I couldn't get the knot out of it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But after that, man, I never left my dirty clothes on the floor. You know what I mean?
I bet. Well,
but he was so strict, and so, but you know what? But every once in a while, when I did something good, when I did something really good, he would just kind of look at me and just kind of crack a little smile. And you know what? That little smile was like the greatest feeling in the world. It was like I just got approval from Grandpa, but he never ever once told me, oh, that was good, or that was never. He would never ever compliment anything, but when you did something right, you knew, he would just, he wouldn't say anything. He would just kind of look and kind of smile and nod and walk away,
That's great. But, how have you gotten through losing that? I mean, that's a phenomenal person in your life. How have you gotten past that? We all lose parents, grandparents, the people that have really been there for us, mentored us, whatever. How do you move on? How do you replace that?
It was tough, man. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of time, and but I mean, this was like, gosh, I want to say almost 20 years ago now.
Wow.
And I still think about him,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I still think about him. In fact, he's the one who taught me how to fish.
No way.
He taught me how to go fishing.
Wow.
My grandfather was a really good fisherman, and he taught me how to fish because he said, hey, one day you're going to have a family and you're going to have to feed your family. And if you can't afford to buy food, you got to learn how to catch food.
Ooh, that's good old school stuff right there.
And he taught me how to fish, and that's one of the things I love doing. And every time I'm out there in the ocean or at the beach with my pole in the water, or if I'm snorkeling around looking for fish and things to eat, like, I just think about my grandpa.
That's great. That really is. Well, sounds like we should start a whole nother podcast called Parenting Like Our Grandparents. See, you've learned some good lessons about teaching your own kids. Hey, question number 4. How are you sharing hope today? I read a little about your foundation. I've seen a little of your work out there. How are you involving your skill set, your personality, your place in life to bring hope to somebody else?
For me, like I've always believed in the concept of servant leadership. That was a concept that was taught to me when I was a teenager. And, servant leadership and, leading by example. Like when I was in high school, I was always involved in student council and all that. In fact, I was my class president, pretty much throughout high school.
Nice.
And I just loved it, man. I just loved serving.
Yeah.
I loved being the one that was like first to sign up to do the beach cleanup, or to or do the Thanksgiving food drive, thing, or where we would set up a whole catering table, and over at some of the homeless shelters around the island and things like that, during Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I totally I don't know. I mean, I just love that. Even today, I go to a lot of schools and I talk to the kids. I don't really get into telling them what I think. I don't talk much. I mean, one of the things I verbally tell them is, hey, I always tell them that I've been drug free my whole life, and you don't need drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I try to encourage them that way.
Yeah.
But as far as with the other stuff, man, I think just being up there and I just I share my passion for the ukulele with them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I just hope that through that, you know, I can inspire them to find something that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
You know, and I do tell them that. I do say, like, you know, like, playing the ukulele is my passion. And, you know, and I want to encourage all of you to find your passion, you know, whatever it is. You know, that's my hope for you, is that you find something that you just love doing. You know, and I tell them, it could be a passion for medicine, and you want to be a doctor. It could be a passion for food, and you want to be a chef. You know, it could be music. It could be art related, but it doesn't have to be. You know, but music and the arts kind of fuels us. You know, it gives us it inspires us to think differently. You know, it motivates us to get out there and take action.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about music and the arts, you know. But it's not, you know. But not everybody should be a musician, you know. Not everybody should be an artist, you know. I mean, there are people out there that need to find the cure for cancer. There are people out there that need to, you know, that need to be astronauts, that need to be school teachers and educators. There are people out there that, you know, that need to be in business and creating in their own way. But, you know, but in a sense, I tell them that all those people are all artists, you know, in their own way.
Yeah.
Whether you're an accountant, you know, then your artistic expression is in numbers, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's all passion, and as long as you find something that you love doing and you're passionate about, you know, then you'll be happy. You know, so I try to encourage, you know, the young people to do that, you know, and
great.
And you know, that's
I think that's great. You're actually getting into question 5. How can we take action today? What steps, if you could give a 1, 2, 3 or ABCs of how to take action for yourself or for others sharing hope? But you're already saying those things. You're very much a find what you're passionate about and start doing it, and then sharing. You seem to be giving your passion constantly, and that's such a motivation for everybody else who's trying to grab onto something and be more hopeful and do something with it.
Yeah, and just be happy. I mean, if you can find a way to, you know, to keep that smile on your face, you know, because when you're happy, then you have the energy and you're inspired to, like, do positive things and to do good things. You know, when you're not happy, that's when you want to just lie in bed and just mope around, or you want to just kind of sit in front of the television and just not do anything, you know. But when you're truly happy and you feel good, you know, almost like that feeling like when you meet someone and, you know, it's like, you know, and you think you're in love and all that, right? You know, it's like that feeling that you just, like, have all this energy and you feel like you can do anything.
Yeah.
You know, if you can feel like that all the time, like that's infectious, you know, and I know firsthand, because it happens to me, like, sometimes, you know, like, even if you think you're having a bad day, but then you come across someone who's like bubbly and nice and, you know, and just so kind, and maybe, like, you know, they'll maybe you're, like, at the supermarket and you only have 2 items and they have, like, you know, they have like 30 items in their cart, and they just turn around and they're like, hey, you know what? You only got 2 things. Why don't you go ahead? You know, and you're like, oh, are you sure? They're like, oh, thanks so much. And, you know, and then they let you go and you pay for your things and you tell them, oh, thank you so much. That was so nice of you. And you leave the supermarket and you feel good because you're like, wow, that was really nice. And then you're driving home, and you know what? And you're driving home in a great mood, you know, and someone cuts you off and you're just like, that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
If you're in a good mood and you're just like, there's no road rage, and you know, and you just feel good. And if more things like that were to happen, you know, like if things like that were to happen to you all day, you know, it's going to definitely affect your mood and how you carry yourself throughout the day, you know. But if your day starts off with someone being rude to you, and then someone cutting you off, and then, than someone just kind of like, doing something awful to you. I mean, the rest of the day, you're just going to be bitter, and you'll be like, man, everything sucks. And, you're just going to have this total negative attitude, right? And, that's something I always try to do is, I always try to, everyone that I meet, I always try to, give a genuine smile or just shake their hand or give them a hug, or just tell them like, hey, aloha or something, something like that. And
that's great.
And it's I don't know. And then when people around you feel good, then you feel good too. So.
Man, I love it. So be happy on your own and be friendly and happy to other folks around you. That's such good advice. It really does make your day brighter when somebody's happy to you and nice to you. That's great. Okay, I think that is the end of our normal 5 questions. I would love to know, as you see this last question, when you're kind of needing a little pump it up music, if you're heading home from whatever you're doing there on the island, what are you popping in? What are you listening to? What do you put your headphones in after a concert? What do you jam out to?
You're going to laugh, but whenever I feel like I need, whenever I want to get motivated to do something, because music, well, obviously music is my passion, so music really affects my moods, but like if I need to take action and do something, but if I'm feeling kind of like, kind of blah, for the day, I always reach for my Rocky soundtrack.
That's great. Like Eye of the Tiger, original Rocky?
No, well, the songs that I like are the war. What's that instrumental War?
Yep.
That's the one from Rocky 4.
Yes.
I like the training montage from Rocky 4. There's the 2 instrumental songs. I have the Tiger. Yeah, that's a good one, but I don't know, for some reason I prefer the what's the one? Let me.
Yeah.
Take
a look. Look at your phone
It's on my playlist. Wait, I'm gonna pull up my playlist.
Okay, go for it.
I'll tell you what.
That's great. I love it. This is the best question of the whole thing. It's funny to hear people say.
I'm just opening my computer real quick.
Yeah, take your time. The Eye of the Tiger, that band is from Memphis. They're still around.
Survivor, yeah.
Yeah, Survivor's Memphis band.
Oh, there we go. Hearts on Fire.
Got it.
Hearts on Fire. That's a good one.
Who's the artist on that?
It's John Cafferty.
Okay.
And then No Easy Way Out is Robert Tepper.
Okay.
No Easy Way Out. Yeah. So I'm sure you heard those. But these are all. It's off the album The Rocky Story, and it's a collection of all his kind of like songs from the movies, from the Rocky movies.
That's fantastic.
And I'll tell you some of the other ones that I have on here. I also have The Measure of a Man. That's by Elton John.
Yep. Yeah, good one.
That's another really good one that I like. That one kind of really gets me going too.
Yeah.
And well, those are my go-to.
Those are good. 3 really good ones. Really good ones, man. I'm hoping we can get a hold of one of those folks and see if we can wrap up your podcast message here with one of those songs. It's a tough call though, because it'd be fun to play it out with some of your music as well. So on the way out, go ahead.
One last one. This is always another go-to one for me. Is "Count on Me" by Martin Page.
Okay.
And it's off of the soundtrack Gladiator.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. "Count on Me." That one for me, like really, when I just kind of want that kind of like sit there and just kind of like that inspiration, that motivation to like. But it's more like when I'm just contemplating like what I need to do, not when I'm actually out there doing it. But, you know, when I just need to sit down, listen to a good song to kind of get the wheels turning, Count on Me is another. And that one, I don't know, for some reason, that one gets me all fired up.
Man, this is really great. I love it. I love it. Okay, so Jake, if people want to follow you around and find out what you're doing, how can they get a hold of you? Websites, Twitter, etc. What you got?
Yeah, I got my website is jakeshimabukuro.com. But, you know, I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that. So, yeah, all the social media stuff. But yeah, man, I just love music. I love playing, and I feel so fortunate, you know, that I get to just focus 100%, you know, on my passion, you know, every day. It's awesome.
Well, I'm glad you're getting to, and I'm sure there are hundreds of thousands of others that are glad you get to as well. Well, I'm going to put on the show notes for this podcast the ways to get in touch with Jake. Also links to some Amazon, his website, several places you can find more about him, and some incredible music and videos and products that he has that really are unbelievable. If you ever get a chance to see Jake in concert, it's worth it. Get as close to the stage as you can get. You really got to see the fingers move. It's really freaky amazing. Jake, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you being with us today, and I can't wait to share the hope that you're sharing here today.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Okay, man. Thanks again. And Jake, stay with me for just a second.
Okay.
You still there? Okay, good. If I ask every person this off the air, who would you want to hear from? If you're listening to this podcast and you're going to go to the next one after your interview, who would you want it to be? Who do you want to hear hope from?
Oh,
pick anybody.
Anybody?
Surprisingly to me, hardly anybody says no to this. I'm amazed. I'm a nobody. I don't have an agent.
No. You know who I think would be a really cool interview if you could get a hold of one of them is just like I think like one of the Nisei veterans that served, you know, in the 442 or the 100th Battalion,
yeah,
you know, or the M, because they were the ones that were discriminated against, you know, but they were the ones that fought the hardest for the U.S., right? And
wow.
I mean, I just think their story is amazing, you know, because, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with the internment camps and stuff, and, you know, how they were locked up and put in isolation, and, you know, some of them were even like, you know, were kind of beaten, and,
yeah,
you know,
I've heard. Yeah.
But there was a large group of these soldiers that initially were from Hawaii. Really? And they said, yeah, and, you know, they were Japanese, you know, they were of Japanese descent.
Sure,
but
yeah.
They really felt like Americans, you know, and they were like, no, we're Americans.
They were,
you know,
yeah.
They went out and fought, you know, against the Japanese and against the, you know, they were the ones, the 100th Battalion, you know, they were put in like the worst situations, you know, but they fought the hardest, and I think the 100th Battalion and the 442, they were the most decorated unit in the history of the military.
Wow.
You know, so, yeah, and they were the most, they are the most decorated unit.
Really? I had no idea.
Of the Japanese American soldiers, you know, in World War II. So I just think their story is amazing, and that's why, like, for me, it's such a big deal, because, like, my grandfather served too. You know, he served in the military in the Korean War, you know, as a Japanese American, and you know, and I just think that it's really because of their sacrifices and their courage that, you know, like, for me, being a Japanese American, I have a much better life living in this country today, you know, because of what they did. And I mean, and you know, and I just, it's so sad, you know, but, like, you know, Senator Daniel Inouye, you know, who was one of the one of the Nisei veterans too. You know, he was our senator for so many years. He was the one that, he lost his arm, right, in the war. And,
wow.
And he was from Hawaii, and he was one of the greatest senators, that we've ever had. So.
Is he still living?
No, he just passed away like 2 years ago.
Oh, man.
But, but I think, like, if anything happened to the president of the United States and the vice president, I think he would be like fourth in line.
Wow.
To run the country, yeah.
Whoa, that's great.
And he's a Japanese American, I mean, it's so cool.
That's great.
But, but it's really because of, what they did and what they fought for, and they really, and what they believed. They really believed in this country, and so that's why for me, even with, of course, with my grandfather and with my parents, but also for all the Japanese American Nisei veterans, I feel this tremendous responsibility to be a model citizen, to be a good person, so that so all their values and what they fought for, was not, they'll because a lot of them, a lot of them are passing away, they're old, but there's still a few that are left, and I want to make sure that when they see someone like me, they feel like everything that they sacrificed, was worth it, and I just want to always carry on that tradition, and it's neat because a lot of them do come to my shows.
Wow.
When I travel, to different parts, especially on the West Coast,
sure,
and of course Hawaii, but a lot of them will come to shows, and there's a song that I wrote, in honor of the veterans. It's a song called "Go for Broke," which was their motto when they fought, and yeah, they're really special people. I mean, that generation was pretty hardcore, so.
How do I do you have any contact with any of those folks that I could reach out to, or should I just go through the military?
Oh, well, in California, there's a Go for Broke Educational Foundation.
Okay.
It's called the Go for Broke, GOFORBROKE, Go for Broke Educational Foundation.
Okay.
And I think that would be a great start. There's also a foundation in DC, and I mean, they have tons of memorials for them.
Oh, that's good. Now you've given me enough direction there. I can find them through that. That's great. A good recommendation. I'll follow up on that. All right. One last quote from you. I need you to say, your name, and I share hope. So I would say, I'm Chris Williams, and I share hope.
Okay. I'm Jake Shimabukuro, and I share hope.
That's perfect. Jake, I really do appreciate your time. Good luck on the last two shows, and man, enjoy being home for the holidays.
All right, great. Well, happy holidays to you, and thank you, and give my best to your daughter.
I will, and she said to say hi, and I'll send you some links, etc. Once this thing is produced and ready. Before we launch it, we launch this thing in January 1st, but then there's a bunch of interviews lined up. So before yours goes out, we'll send that to you so you can do whatever you'd like to from a sharing standpoint. I'm very interested in cross-connecting fans of other people that are talking to your story and vice versa, because there's a lot of diversity of people who need to hear a positive message today. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Enjoy your evening.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.
You've just listened to I Share Hope. If you're ready to make a change, head to our website at isharehope.com and claim your free copy of the Top 10 Actions of Hope from World Leaders to use hope in your own life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.